Hi everybody, we're out in the garden and checking on some things to see how it's going. One of the things I like to check on a regular basis is our compost bin. And the reason why I do that is not only to see the status of the compost to see how it's maturing, but also for things like this. Pardon my shadow. This is a squash, as I like to call them, volunteer. So this was just a squash seed that got happy here in the compost bin and started growing. Then down farther we have some mustard greens and a pretty healthy looking tomato plant. So I'm pretty excited about that because it is way past time for me to start my winter tomatoes, which I neglected to do, so I will happily take this volunteer. Further along in the food forest, we can see that these new longevity spinaches that I planted amongst the mulberries have really gotten happy with the abundance of rain we've had lately, and I need to trim them back really well because they're starting to take over the pathway. But if I continue down this little side path, we can see that we got another surprise volunteer. Check out this squash plant that's growing next to one of our jasmine bushes. I'm pretty excited about that. I haven't had much luck with squash because we have lots of bugs in this area that really enjoy eating them, but this guy, being just left to his own devices, is doing pretty good. Maybe we'll get a harvest from him. Here is our marlberry tree, and as you can see, it has tons of little buds all over it. So I'm hoping that we can get a decent harvest of berries from it to try to do something. We really haven't worked with it yet because this is the first year that we've gotten this many little buds. Here you can see they've already turned to berries. They're not ripe yet. They are dark purple when they're mature, but it's just loaded with little buds. So hopefully we'll be able to experiment with that soon, and of course we'll be sharing with you what we come up with. You can tell by how bright and blotchy the lighting is why we tend to film in our garden so incredibly early in the morning, and that's because the Florida sun is harsh. Now this is the area that I planted for my fall garden prep video, and as you remember, I said this particular area tended to be partly shady. Well, this part is shady, that part not so much. But they're still doing pretty good. The lettuces seem to be pretty happy, particularly this one. We can actually start harvesting some of the lower leaves off of this and let it do its thing. I did plant some scallions in here as they're part of the allium family and tend to deter lots of pests. However, they have their own set of problems, and as you can tell by this set of leaves, somebody's been munching on them. What I think is actually occurring is there is a moth that lays eggs and it has these little grubs that like to eat these kind of plants right at the base. And I think that is what is happening here. So I'm kind of irritated about that. There's only so much you can do. One of the ways to deal with those particular pests is that if you save toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls and use those cardboard tubes, you can plant them in the ground right around the base of the stem, so like right around here, and it makes like a little protective collar. Now here are some seeds, let's see if I can shade it, there you go, that are sprouting up that I planted a root crop, as I said in the video, in between my two lettuce plants. So I'm happy to see them sprout out, and I'm not sure, but I know I planted seeds over here. Unfortunately, I think those little sproutlings probably are weeds, but I do see these guys right here. See them with the longer leaves? Those are carrots, so my carrots are sprouting as well. So I'm pretty happy about how the raised garden beds are coming along. Then we move into the greenhouse, and as you can see, it's just a complete mess. I really need to spend a good amount of my work today in here. But I do have some startings of rosemary, and then this whole row right here are some more of my lime tree babies. We don't need any more limes ourselves, but I do have some friends that are interested in them, so I got a bunch potted up for them. Then down here, these guys This was an experiment of when we made the date wine. We had to pit all those dates, so I looked up to see, could you grow date trees in Florida? You totally can, because they're a palm, but it tends to fruit the dates themselves during one of our wet seasons, which is pretty much all the time. And so they tend to rot on the tree before they're ready to harvest. But I had free date seeds, so I was going to try it anyway, and the palms are pretty, so I'm okay with that. And you can see back here I have some more beauty berries, and this one right here got so happy he decided to create a little berry cluster, so that was fun. Then here is another one of my experiments, and these are all lychees. So I have a little mini forest of lychee sproutings. I was so pleased about how well they germinated. I didn't really expect that many to work out, but it seems like nearly everyone I planted germinated, so I'm really happy about that. There's some more of my longevity spinach seedlings, sproutlings. I just grew these from cuttings, that's why I was changing my verbiage, because they really aren't seedlings. Longevity spinach is really easy to propagate from cuttings. Then here, these guys, I really don't know what I'm going to do with them, because this little mini forest is all papaya. Papaya is notorious for not wanting to be replanted, so what am I going to do with these guys? I don't know, but there's so many of them. Certainly a few are going to make it, and I did, because there were so many seeds in the papaya, I did just sprinkle some around our yard here, and I'll show you those in a bit, and they're doing just fine as well. Here are my marigolds. All three of them have sprouted. However, this front section was cauliflower and none of them have sprouted, so I'm a little irritated about that. And this was another experiment where I was thinking, hey, we have one store-bought lemon, but it's not producing any lemons for us, and that's really irritating. I wonder if I could grow lemons from the seeds of store-bought lemons. Well, as you can see, the answer is yes. So obviously they're way too small to produce fruit, and it's going to be a couple years before they do that. So I am curious to see if they do produce fruit true to what I grew them from, because a lot of the commercial cultivars, that's an issue, is that you may get a plant to grow, but it may not fruit what you're thinking it should fruit. So this is a plant that's new to our garden this season, and this is passion fruit vine. And I started it with just these little tiny seedlings that are planted way down there, and they were just like that tall. And now it's gone all the way up this fence that I intended it to go up, but it's kind of taking over, and it's even gone up into my plumeria nearby, and it's just heading for the stars. It's going all the way up there, so I really need to trim that back really well. And I'm hoping it will flower. We have a neighbor who theirs flowered. I haven't kept track of how long they've had their plant, but I always come out and investigate it, and I see these little parts like this guy right here, and it looks like it could possibly be the beginning of a flower. It just seems like it's really late in the season for them to do that. I am just going to go ahead and assume it's not going to produce for us until next year, but it obviously got really happy, so it's going to do its thing eventually, that's for sure. As you can tell, I have lots of work to do today, so I'm going to get started on that. But I just wanted to share with you what's going on here with us, and hopefully in the comments you can share with us what's going on with you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on City Steading.